Meeting to order at 7:02. I'm going to ask, because it's very noisy with the rain, that we try and keep the conversations to a minimum, and if you are going to come up to speak, that you just speak loudly, again, because of the rain on the roof. It does make it hard to hear sometimes. So, let's start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next thing on our agenda is the reorganization of the committee. This happens once, every year. We need to reorganize all of the various committees and positions. So that's chair, secretary / vice president, or vice chair, I should say, Union 28 representative, budget and personnel subcommittee members, Erving policy committee, capital planning subcommittee, collaborative for educational services representative, sick bank representative, and the regionalization committee. So, because we are reorganizing, Karina, would you mind just chairing the first one, which is the school committee chair, and then...
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yep.
Knowing that the town has changed when votes happen and when someone can be appointed, so for example, we have people that were voted in on the election for a school committee, and we have one new person that was a write-in, right?
No.
Okay. So everyone here is the same and we have no one new. Because my thing is they only allow that person to start after July 1st. So I wasn't sure if this, maybe not this time, but in the future should align with that, because then we're reorging again at our August or September meeting, because we have a new person. So really it's only for a month that is applicable, and just seems very redundant.
I agree with you. In this particular instance, because there was a tie in the vote for the write-in candidates, neither candidate won officially.
Okay, I was only aware of one, so that's helpful.
I was the second one, but I had already been voted in on the other ballot.
Okay.
So, but because there was a tie, it's a null vote. So,
okay.
We currently still have 4 members. Eric is not here tonight. And so that may be why we want to potentially postpone. Although I think we can get through some of these, at least the chair.
So do you know what the rationale behind it of doing it in May versus doing it in August or September?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I think that was, I don't. That's the short answer. But we can certainly look into that for future, years. He has not expressed an interest in the chair, so I'm going to say let's at least get that done so that we can just move forward with business for tonight.
Yep.
So, Karina, if you wouldn't mind, I'll hand you over the meeting. We need a nomination, a second, and then we'll vote for the chairs.
I will
chair role.
nominate. Oh.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to nominate a new chair?
No. I'm nominating Mackenzie as chair role.
Second. I said second.
Do we have any? Do we have any discussion?
I wanted to know if there was anything else.
How are you feeling?
I'll accept that.
Okay.
So I don't have a problem with that.
And we don't need to, with only 3, we don't need to do an overall vote here, right? Do we want to?
I think we just vote,
okay,
because
all
we
in
always
favor?
do that.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Karina.
Welcome.
All right, so I will entertain waiting until our next meeting if people feel like they want to wait for the rest of the committees. If, for Eric to be back on, and potentially for there to be a 5th person appointed, or we can go forward and continue to reorganize now. What do people feel
Let's
like?
get it out of the way.
You want to reorganize now
Yeah,
and appoint Eric to everything we don't want to do?
right.
Okay. I say in jest, of course. How do you feel about that?
That works. There might be some things we'll go around, but
Yeah,
I think if we can get through most of them, that makes
Okay.
sense.
All right. So the next position is the vice chair and secretary. We have a minute taker, so we don't necessarily need a secretary per se, but a vice chair would probably be good in the event that the chair was not available. Then the vice chair would take over. So I do think we should appoint somebody to that position. That's my suggestion.
Nominate Caitlin.
I'll second that.
I'll accept it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So Caitlin, you'll be the vice chair. Union 28 representatives. So the chair is 1. So I will automatically be 1. And then the other person that's not voted, everyone else is alternates. So in a sense, we're all on it, but we need formally, besides myself, because I have to be on it as the chair. Caitlin or Mark, you want to be the official other?
Yeah, I'll be the. I'll do
Okay.
it.
So you want to nominate yourself?
Yep.
Okay. Caitlin, are you okay with that?
Yep, that works.
So do you want to second it then?
Yep, I'll second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So again, Caitlin, then you will be an alternate. Budget and Personnel Committee. Again, 1 member has to be. One member has to be on it from each town, so we need a person from Erving.
I just wanted to read joint advisory. Okay. I'm just trying to read like who's supposed to be also on what to make sure we just
Yeah.
adhere to that.
And actually, I'm sorry, we have to go back to the Union 28. It's actually, we need 3. I thought we only needed 2. We need 3 elected. So, Caitlin, would you like to be the other officially elected?
Yep, that
Okay,
works.
so I'll nominate Caitlin. Mark, do you want a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so the 3 of us are on it. Eric will be the alternate, and if we get a 5th member, they'll be an alternate as well. So back to Budget and Personnel. 1 member must serve as the Union 28 Joint Advisory Committee. Either one of you have a preference on doing that? Well, don't speak at once.
I'll do it.
All right. Mark is on Budget Personnel Committee, Subcommittee. So he nominated himself. I'll second it. Caitlin, you good with that?
Yep. All in
Okay.
favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so Mark. Irving Policy Committee, again, 2 school committee members need to be on this.
I'll continue to be on
I
that.
want to do it.
Yes?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'm all in. I'm all now.
All right. All right, so I'll nominate Caitlin and Mark to continue on that committee. Do you two want to second the either?
Second.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready, Caitlin.
yeah, I'm just for own personal.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, capital planning. 2 school committee members need to be on this one as well.
I will nominate myself.
I'll do it. I got a couple of axes to grind on capital planning that I want to see through.
Okay, so
I'll nominate myself and Mark. Does that work?
fine. I'll second it. So all in favor? Aye. Okay. Collaborative representative. You're on it currently, right?
I
Caitlin?
am.
You want to keep doing it?
I can. That's fine.
Okay. Like the enthusiasm. All right, I nominate Caitlin to be the Collaborative for Educational Services representative. Second it.
Second. Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, sick bank. I'm currently on it, and
Eric?
Eric?
I don't know.
if it's not you guys, it's Eric. Eric.
No. I thought I got stuck with it last time, but let's give it to Eric.
Okay. So I'll nominate Eric. and myself to be on the sick bank committee. I just need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Regionalization committee. We do have two members because they are technically part of the school committee, which are Jen Icorn and Jackie Boyden. They happen to be our representatives to the tech school and to Gil Montague, but they are considered part of the school committee. And they both expressed interest in being on the regionalization committee. So I will nominate those two people to be our rep. We only need one, but they both wanted to do it. So unless one of you wants to as well, they can continue to do that.
That works for me.
All right, so somebody second that.
Second.
And
Jackie Boyden. Jacqueline Boyden.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Thank you for doing that so efficiently. All right, and in the event we get another school committee member, we certainly can redistribute, because I know you guys are on a lot of committees now, subcommittees, so.
Can we make a note maybe to just bring that to our September meeting or something?
Which, to reorganize, or
Just
that you
like
wanna
the
change?
idea
Yeah.
of possibly needing to, because we can always just skip it, right?
Yeah, yep.
So I would, if we have a meeting in August, I don't think that needs to happen then, because I just think there's a lot going on then. But I think for September, we just put it on the agenda, and then we can skip it if we need to.
Okay, yep. We
Thank
can
you.
do that. All right, next on our agenda is public hearing. I just want to remind anybody that's going to do public hearing that public hearing is for discussions in general. We cannot speak to any specific staff or child. Due to various laws, we cannot single out staff members or talk about children, even if you are the parent of that child. Is there any public hearing?
Oh, I didn't even look at the list.
Nobody else is raising their hand, so.
Yep, you're the only one.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, school committee, for allowing me this opportunity to speak on behalf of the staff here at Erving Elementary. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elizabeth DeSorger, and I'm currently teaching the 4th grade class here, and I'm also the union president of Unit A. Okay. As educators and parents, we all can relate to tensions and fatigue at the end of the school year. Erving Elementary School has and continues to be an excellent school. Over the past few years, there have been many changes. This is true for most schools. Here at EES, our staff remains strong, and our main focus above all else is our students. Despite all of the many obstacles we continue to endure by outside sources, we, the staff, continue to provide a loving and dependable environment where the children feel safe as they learn. We continue to do amazing things and continue to connect and build relationships within the community. At Erving Elementary School, the teachers and staff have been working tirelessly to reestablish a foundational process that includes consistency, predictability, and de-escalation. Teachers and staff have invested countless hours creating safe instructional classrooms and spaces for belonging, for support, and for learning to occur. It is understandable that different views, social media, and tensions will play out in any year. However, we need due process of investigation, administration, and school committee support for holding together the fabric of protocols and academic expectations. It feels divisive for a school committee member to engage on social media, particularly because the Code of Ethics outlines a responsibility to build and support the community. This type of engagement is not only unprofessional, but also contributes to the destruction of our community's cohesion. It is difficult to consistently hear a small group of community members with big voices who are not involved directly with the school say, "Erving used to be great, and too bad it can't be how it used to be." Erving was and still is a great place. Inside the school, a strong, dedicated staff is making sure every day is the best it can be for all students. The students are here trying their best, learning, growing, and socializing. Every day, the staff are here for the students and the families despite anything occurring outside of these walls. The school still offers all-school sing, chorus, winter concerts, field day, a Veterans Day program, parent nights, classroom events, and field trips. We now have Ziva visiting a couple more times this month, and the younger children are visiting the library regularly. Things are not exactly the same as they used to be. All schools experienced changes as they navigated COVID both during and after. The staff go above and beyond covering classes and responding to the school needs and are just not able to volunteer for as many extras beyond school hours. However, it is in times like these we need the support of the community, the school committee, the parents, and the town. This is where a community can choose to make positive change or promote toxicity. The personal issues are infiltrating the way our school functions, and it is affecting the students the most. We as a community have to do something better. We need to do better. Amidst all the diversity, the lack of respect, trust, and support for our school, the accusations amongst certain outside representatives that should be supporting us, trusting and representing us, the staff are still prevailing and showing up every day, picking each other up and being there for the children. All of these actions have a trickle effect, not just towards our administration, but towards teachers, paraeducators, all other staff, and most importantly, the children. Finally, EES staff's number one priority has and will always be the children. We need your help. Let's bring a supportive community back to Erving. Let's all work together as a whole to reach our goals. Put our differences aside and do what's best for our school and for our children. If people have disagreements, questions, or concerns, please reach out to the appropriate personnel. No one is perfect, but let's work together to come to a resolution. We need to come together in person to have conversations and figure things out collectively and appropriately. It doesn't matter how or where exactly things went wrong, but let's just start to make this right. Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to approval of minutes, April 23rd and March 27th. I see March 27th.
April should be in your packet.
Yep. Oh, there they are. Yep. Set with them?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, we can take them separately or together. Which would you prefer?
Take them together, I've read them both.
Okay, so you're making a motion
Make a motion, we accept the minutes.
from April 23rd and March 27th?
23rd and March.
All second.
Okay. Any other discussion, amendments, corrections?
I think that's fine.
All right.
Katie, thanks for adding those adjustments and adding people on the top. These look great. Good.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on. We have some warrants to approve. We have payroll 122, 123, vendor invoice 1035, 1036, 1037, 1038, a secondary 1118 and 1119. We can take them separately or together.
I'm fine with them together. I'll make a motion to group them together and approve them.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion about them? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Gifts. I did not hear from Caitlin that there were any gifts or any grants. Karina, do you know differently?
I don't know differently.
Okay. All right. So, no gifts, no grants that we need to vote on. Report of Gil Montague representative. The representative is not here, but sent a report. Do you have it, Mark?
Yep, right here. I will not be able to attend tonight's meeting. I have a recreation meeting at the same time. There's not much news to report as I missed the tech school meeting to attend the Erving Town meeting. However, based on the superintendent's report, I can inform you of the following.
So I just to let everybody know, we're gonna combine the tech school and the Gil Montague because it's one report, two different schools, but she's made it one report. So just so people aren't confused. So we're
Sorry
actually
about that.
That's okay. But so it sounds
Slow
like we're
down.
starting with the tech school report first.
Let's see.
Sorry about that, Brian. Just
That's
some
okay.
Clarification.
Slow me down when needed. Memorial Day exercises, all school assembly on Friday, May 24th. Also on May 24th, there is a prom at UMass. Thursday, May 30th, early release for grades 9-11. Capstone presentation for grade 12 students. Friday, May 31st, 10 a.m. Delayed opening for students grade 9-11 and senior sign out beginning at 8 a.m. On the Tuesday, June 4th, there's a senior awards night at 6 p.m. at the tech school gym. And on June 5th, Wednesday, there's graduation rehearsal for seniors at the football, 3 p.m. on the football field, and graduation at 5 p.m. on the football field. Graduation rain date is at June 7th at 5 p.m. on the football field.
Graduation June 6th.
Yes, graduation is June 6th. Rain date is June 7th. Friday, June 14th is the last day of school, and the last meeting for the tech school will be June 12th until Gil Montague news. Oh no, Gil Montague news is next. Great Falls Middle School spring concert is Thursday, May 23rd, 6:30 p.m. at Turner's Falls High School Theater. The 7th grade step-up day is Thursday, May 30th. 5th and 6th grade step-up day, Friday, May 31st. Senior walkthrough, Thursday, June 6th at 1 p.m. Senior awards night, Thursday, June 6th, 6 p.m. Turner's Falls High School Theater. Turner's Falls High School graduation is Friday, June 7th, and the gymnasium at 6 p.m. Early release day, June 11th, Wednesday, June 12th, and Thursday, June 13th. 8th grade step-up celebration, Thursday, June 19th, 9:30 a.m. at the gymnasium. And the last day of school for students is Thursday, June 13th. Let's see, news about Erving students, National School Development Council Award for Academic Growth and Student Leadership and Learning is to Avery Tila, sorry. Congratulations to Avery. Avery is one of the top-ranked students in the Turner's Falls High School class of 2024. She has left a remarkable record of academic achievement, including remaining on the honor roll since arriving at our school in 7th grade. Avery has also been a member of the National Honor Society since 11th grade. She has maintained a busy schedule as a volunteer coach and official for the youth basketball in Erving. She's also been a member of the girls basketball program and a member of the field hockey team since 7th grade. This year, she was also selected as captain of the field hockey team. Avery will be attending Mount Holyoke College in the fall and is undecided about a major. Turner's Falls High School athletics update. Congratulations to both the varsity baseball and softball teams, each of which has qualified for the Western Mass Tournament. Our track and field team is sending 15 athletes to the Western Mass Division II regional track meet this Friday, May 17th, which will be held at Mohawk Trail Regional. Ella Galuje? No, get it.
Oh, no, sorry. Different person.
Yeah.
I assumed because you were talking about Erving. Sorry, different person.
Ella. So.
I don't know.
Gita,
I'm not going to try.
Does someone know? Gita Boney have been selected to represent Turner's Falls High School at the National Women in Sport Day celebration on Wednesday, May 22nd at the Gillette Stadium. Both are multi-sport athletes who achieve high grades and are very active in the school community. They will attend with Coach Leslie Charles. The next meeting for Gil Montague is scheduled for May 28th and June 11th. And Jackie anticipates making those meetings. So sincerely, Jackie Boyden.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for reading that. All right. Collaborative for Educational Services report.
We have not had a meeting since last meeting, and the next meeting is May 29th at 6 p.m., which is next Wednesday.
Okay. Regionalization update. Our two reps are not here, so we're going to move past that. I don't have an update unless anybody else has anything to add.
For regionalization, though.
Yeah, okay. Capital Planning Committee.
We are meeting this Thursday at 10 a.m., 5:23.
Do you want to say what's on the agenda? Do you know?
Yes.
Is it the HVAC?
It is. It's like the HVAC roof that we have going on. There's not much of an update, but that's on the agenda. The blinds are on the agenda. And then just checking in with, I think the freezer might be on the agenda, just to check in how that's going. And then the last agenda item is just to be proactive, because each year a form is supposed to be submitted to the town to share any capital planning things that we might have or going on that we want to possibly be addressed. And so I just want to be ready for and conduct or create a list of different things and kind of prioritize those things, so that way when it's supposed to be submitted in the fall, we can timely and accurately get that submitted, so that way the town knows kind of what's going on with capital planning stuff here at the school, because nothing was submitted this year, so we're trying to get on top of that.
Excellent. I'm sure that the town's capital planning will be happy to hear that. Acting Superintendent's report. Before you give your report, I just want to say, I just want to thank Karina for stepping in on this role. Our superintendent is out on leave, and you have graciously accepted stepping into this role again, and I really appreciate it. So thank you and welcome to our table.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. So I have quite a few things to share, but I will try to go through fairly quickly. There are a number of great things happening here at Erving Elementary School right now, and our goal as a community is to finish the year in a strong, safe way. Right now we're focused on and providing for the present day-to-day needs of the overall building and individual student needs, as well as continuing planning for next year. As Mackenzie just noted, I was appointed interim superintendent. That will be up through June 30th. Then Shannon Cleveland will take over as the new Erving School Union Number 28 superintendent on July 1st. We are keeping in touch so that she's in the loop, informed, and updated on matters that will be important for her transition into the role. Ben Rubin is currently and will remain teacher in charge at Erving Elementary School until further notice. Please contact Ben and myself for any matters that you would turn to the school principal for. Erving Elementary School will host an online safety training from the Children's Advocacy Center for caregivers and staff. A couple of items we're addressing on this over the next week include providing for childcare, food, possibly recording the training, as well as hybrid access, just to give the most accessibility as possible. If anybody could reach out with any questions or is interested in supporting or be involved in the prep and planning or refer any resources, please reach right out to me. Next, I have the FY25 next school year student counts. So I'll give the numbers, but first I want to say I've consulted with Ben Rubin, teacher in charge, and at this time we are not promoting making school choice available for any current grade levels. Erving Elementary School remains understaffed by 2 paraprofessionals and is currently operating without any available substitute teachers. Based on the current social, emotional, and academic data, Erving Elementary School is working at capacity, serving the current town population. That being said, the school committee must vote on whether Erving Elementary will be a school of choice before June 1st. Any district that does not vote and report by June 1st is assigned as a district accepting school choice students. Our numbers for next school year are preschool age 3, 0, preschool age 4, 8 students, kindergarten, 14, first grade, 13 students, second grade, 13 students, third grade, 17 students, fourth grade, 17 students, fifth grade, 16 students, and finally sixth grade, 15 students. And now we're going to go on to some hiring updates. So first we have hiring of a van driver, 7D van driver. So we do have someone who has been offered and accepted the position. They've met with the Erving treasurer. They have initiated certification for training to be completed prior to July 1st. They are currently certified, but that expires on July 8th. And our transportation consultant has been instrumental in setting up that training with them. They've been in touch with HR. Corey has been completed. Fingerprinting is being processed right now, and so once that information has been confirmed, we'll then calculate an approximate 30-day timeline for determining a start date. Currently, the anticipated start date is approximately June 24th or July 10th. The space in between there is because there is a break in that school calendar for one of those weeks. The team is also working with ideas around providing a substitute driver coverage when needed. These ideas include recruiting interested educational support professionals and/or other Erving Elementary School staff or Town of Erving staff who do not work full-time and could become licensed and be on call for sub-coverage. Another idea is to have one or more people who are able to be on call for sub-coverage who are already licensed and experienced. This could potentially include our transportation consultant. On to a few more hiring updates. For our school counselor position, an offer has been accepted and we're moving forward with that process. That position will start with the new school year. We have a post up for school psychologist for the coming school year. Ben Rubin, teacher in charge, will be leading the interview committee, and that position will start with the new school year. We're in process in Union 28 hiring for a director of student support services. Those interviews are going to take place on May 24th, and then the interview committee will be making recommendations to the joint supervisory committee and the interim superintendent. That position will start on July 1st. We'll also be hiring an executive assistant for Union 28. That role is posted. However, interviewing and hiring will likely take place after July 1, when Superintendent Cleveland is able to start in her new role. And that position will start close to the third week of August. And finally, hiring for substitute teachers remains posted and open for ongoing applications and submissions.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. I just want clarification. The hiring for the school counselor position, is that because we lost our school counselor this year and we're just replacing, it's not in addition to?
It did not get filled this year.
It did not get filled
Yep.
this year. Okay. And, okay. All right. Oh.
I have another.
Yep.
And that is, I was looking over the agenda and we don't have any other place, do we, for a vote on school choice?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it's
We
on
do?
our.
Okay,
Yep,
okay,
it's on
the
there.
agenda and I didn't see it. Good.
Yep.
You got it.
So my question for the school psychologist, is the current one leaving and this is to replace them?
That's correct.
Okay. So essentially, next school year, our hope is to have a school psychologist, school counselor, and the BCBA, and have all three of those.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
And I'm wondering, going back to the van driver, you had said approximate start date of June 24th or July 10th. I'm wondering if they get hired on the 10th, that would be their first day of driving students?
No, so we are allotting for some time with the vehicle and going through the route
routes.
without any students, yeah.
So what's the actual start date for students in July?
So that is a back to school day. June 10th is a back to school day after a break in that school calendar.
Yeah.
So yes, actually, July 10th will not be a start date. It will be a few
Okay.
days before.
Okay, that's
Yep.
what I wanted to clarify. Yep, okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm excited to hear that somebody has accepted the position and that's moving forward. That's been a long process, so I'm excited to get that finished up. Thank you for your work on that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the superintendent? You gotta come up.
Do we have to say who we are?
Come real close.
Do we have to say who we are? Okay. I'm Chris Thurston. I have 2 kids in the school. Thank you so much, by the way. That was like the most information we have ever gotten as parents from anybody, so I truly appreciate it. I'm sure they do too. I just have a quick question. The current principal that's on leave was our intern, correct? Like a sub?
An interim, yes. His
Interim?
title is
Okay.
interim, yep.
So I didn't hear anything about hiring committee for, are we not looking for a principal? Are we looking for a principal? Whether he's here or not here, we should be currently looking for a principal, correct, or no?
Interim principal has a contract through this coming school year. And then at some point in this coming school year, a search committee will be formed per the superintendent, and that process will happen for the
Oh.
following school year.
Okay, thank you.
Well, since there are no 3-year-olds coming in this year, which means there will be little to no 4-year-olds for the following year. So, if we don't have enough 3-year-olds, that's going to be a very, very small class. So that's something to really be thinking about and kind of just keeping in the back of our heads for the following school year, what our preschool program is going to look like.
It was mentioned earlier, no, I think it was an answer to a question that the following year does not look like it'll have any more preschool kids, I guess 3-year-olds either.
Yeah, it's something we're just going to have to watch.
But the
I mean,
year
a lot can
beyond
happen in a
that,
year.
it might start coming back.
Yep. Again, a lot can happen in a year, but something we're just going to have to keep a close eye on. All right. I want to put something, I missed saying something, so I'm just trying to find out where the best place to put it is.
No time like the present.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. There isn't really another good place in the agenda. I missed mentioning this during public hearing, so if the Director of Finance and Operation report could just hold for 1 minute, I would like to mention that we just recently lost a member of our school staff from a while back. Sarah Muse used to be our a secretary here at school for many years. And she just recently passed, so I just want to acknowledge that she worked in our school. She was part of our school community, and we certainly will miss her. I remember her as a parent, being in the office, when my children came through here, and then when I worked on the staff. She was a lovely person, very helpful, did the newsletter for many, many years. And so I just want to acknowledge her passing and send her family our wishes, and thank you for all the years that she did work here in Erving Elementary School. So I apologize that I did not do that earlier in the agenda. So we will move now to the Director of Finance and Operations. She is not here. She did send a report. It is a lengthy report. I'm not sure that we need to read it word for word. Let me just call it up. If anybody else can find it quicker than I can, feel free.
I do.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I think we can just kind of highlight some of the big picture items. A lot of it is just the expenditure report, which, is just a long list of things that the school has spent money on. It's
So
not.
I'll just go over the first 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so Erving Elementary and Secondary FY25 budgets both passed at the annual town meeting on May 8th. This is the third Union 28 budget to pass at town meeting. New Salem and Wendell's meetings are both in June. I attended the Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials Annual Institute last week. I selected professional development sessions on excessive and deficiency submission to the Department of Revenue, regional school budgets and assessments, workforce and hiring trends and data, facility projects, and partner-tiered grant approach. There was also time to meet with other Western Mass business officials and updates from the Secretary of Education, Inspector General Jeffrey
Tutwiler.
Shapiro,
Sorry, different person.
and
Shapiro.
Shapiro, and Interim Commissioner of Education Russell Johnston. Brian Smith, Eric Harris, and I met with our regional representative from Green Communities and Mickey Bush, a project manager at DMI, which is the consulting and engineering service specializing in improving energy efficiency and operation of large-scale facilities. We had a thorough walkthrough of the building, including the roof, the boiler room, and classroom HVAC equipment. This is the first of many steps towards improving the school's HVAC system and hopefully the roof at the same time. we discussed funding opportunities and the timeline of completion for the project. And then, as Mackenzie shared, she just added some Erving Elementary School expenditure reports. And that's it.
If anybody's interested, it is up on the website, so if you wanted to look through the expenditure report, it's there. All right. Any questions from anybody here about that? Nope. All right, moving on. Principal report.
We don't have a principal's report tonight. In lieu of that, I consulted with Ben Rubin for several of the aspects in my report.
And again, I just want to say thank you to Ben for stepping in on this role. In this role, it is challenging to juggle two different roles, so I really thank you for stepping up and doing that. All right, report from the Erving Teachers Association. Okay. Budget and Personnel Committee report. Anything to report? The
N.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped right over. I apologize. Yep, let's go back to, thank you for pointing that out. I'm sorry. We're going to go back to curriculum, Director of Curriculum and Instruction has a presentation. Is it possible when you guys finally get that up and running, if you could just tilt it slightly towards us so we can also see it? It's.
You don't want to exclude those folks.
Yeah, I don't want to exclude anybody, but
Straight back?
No, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
I emailed you as well, so if you have it on your computer. Although there were some last minute edits in the meeting.
okay. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start talking. Thank you, Ben, for hooking that up. All right, so I'm Lindsay Rodriguez, Director of Curriculum and Instruction. I'm excited to be back to talk and answer some questions that came up last meeting about this opportunity to have the BRIGHT program at Erving Elementary. I have invited BRIGHT staff to come today. So Zamora, you met last time, so thank you again to Zamora for coming. And Paul is also here, and I will let them introduce themselves. But a huge thank you to Paul, because Paul came from the eastern side of the state today, who was doing part of the press release for the BRIGHT seed funding that we're kind of part of with the governor at, remind me where it was? Wellesley. So thank you for making the trip back this way to join us tonight. And you can come and join me now. And I will let you introduce yourself. But we did go through 2 planning sessions since we last met with you all last month. And a thank you to Elizabeth for being part of those planning sessions. We were able to kind of flesh out some of the answers to some of the questions. We still have things we need to keep going on, but we have a lot done. So I'll let you introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Zamora Teva. Thanks for having us back again. It's great to see you. Before coming to BRIGHT, I worked as a teacher in Holyoke and Amherst, and before that I worked in higher education at UMass and at Mount Holyoke College, and I've been with BRIGHT for about a year, and I will pass it off to Paul.
I just want to let you know that this microphone is for the people at home. It's not for the people here, so you still have to project your voice even though you're talking into a microphone, because it doesn't help us here. Thank you.
Great. So I'm Paul Hyry-Dermouth. Is this good, you think?
Yeah.
Let's see. Zamora's teammate from BRIGHT. I live in Western Mass. I live in Holyoke and worked my whole career in Holyoke before becoming part of BRIGHT for 8 years. So I was a K-8 principal, and I also worked at the district level there. And I know that the last time you all had some questions, so we want to answer some of those questions and give you some of that context. So I'll share a little bit, and then Lindsay will share a little bit, and then Zamora. So just to give a context for Bright, it's about 20 years now that since the first Bright program was launched in Eastern Massachusetts, and now we're up to something like 180 schools in Massachusetts, and with this seed funding opportunity, it will go well over 200 for it next year. And then we've begun to branch out sort of across the country. So there's now something like 250 schools in 6 states that are implementing a version of the intervention. Yeah. So, and I feel like for many of us, this last couple of years has been sort of being bombarded by statistics like this, right? So I'm not here to try to prove to you all that we have a significant challenge. Many are saying a crisis with mental health among youth and our kids in our country. But just, you all can see for yourself the rates of depression, I think particularly anxiety, and then behavioral challenges have continued to grow. And we haven't met a single school where the teachers, where the administrators, where the school community leaders weren't concerned about kids' mental health and well-being. So just to share some of that context, happy to talk more if folks have specific questions about that. And then Lindsay does have some information locally, so.
So last time we talked about the SABRS being administered as a screener. So that's the social, academic, and emotional behavior risk screener. So I pulled out specifically the emotional section. It does give you points for each section and then an overall total. But for this presentation and thinking about what Bright's function, we really pulled on the emotional section. So those are percentages. So 7% of our population would be considered high risk in that high risk category for emotional. 32% is at that some risk, and then 61% is low risk. So we definitely fall in that triangle of kind of which we're gonna go into next, kind of the high risk, the red part being 5%, then the yellow being 10 to 12, and then the green being majority of the population.
What was the age range? What was the grade range that
This-
had this
This data is K to 6.
in this school?
Yes. Yeah, in this school only. And then the only other thing to know is in thinking about how this aligns to the Bright supports, we really were able to think about in the mapping tool that we did with Elizabeth Zamora, and then their colleague Sarah was also here. We were able to really think about how can we support that 7% with a Bright opportunity, and then also are there areas that we can also support that some risk category being higher.
And Devin, I saw your hand too, so hold on one second. Just while I'm thought process, how many students completed, or how many students was this completed on?
122.
Well, that would be including preschool. So
Okay,
if this
so maybe
is K
this
through
did-
6, what is this?
Thank you.
Okay, so this was
Including preschool then.
Okay, preschool.
And so this side of the assessment is done all by the teacher.
Right.
And then third and up does have a My Sabers component, which is them giving themselves information.
Okay, so
I
how
don't
would
know if we tried that yet this year.
Where the students is to rate themselves, not yet.
Yeah. In
so that
January-
data's
in
not
Jan-
in here.
In January, we just started, because this is brand new screener. We just started screening pre-K to 6 with the teacher doing the screening.
Okay.
And then next year we'll
So
add
this
the
data
student.
is just on the teachers doing the screening for their children in their classroom,
Yes,
preschool through 6.
yes,
And Sabres has a preschool.
yes.
Devin had a question.
You got to come up.
Can I just, before you ask your question, I'm also going to tell you, we have probably like 6 or I think it might be more slides than that, but so it may answer your question, but ask your question and then there might be redundancies.
This is in percentages?
Yes.
How does this compare to other schools percent-wise, the breakdown, the triangle?
Perfect, let's go to the next slide. See?
So this is what we call the multi-tiered system of support framework. It's probably the most common framework in schools now for designing supports and really thinking, how do we make sure that all kids are getting the supports they need? And so the typical way schools will try to think is that we're planning at tier 1 the supports that all kids get, and then we're planning for kids who need some additional support. So we call that core plus more. And then we think about the most intensive supports, tier 3, core plus more plus more. So the idea that the tier 3 supports go on top of the tier 1 and tier 2 supports, they don't replace them, right? So, so just to note that. And then typically the guidelines are, when you're thinking about tier 1, you're wanting to plan for something like 80% of your students. When you're planning for tier 2, you're wanting to think 15 to 20, and then you're thinking sort of 5 to 10% of your students, 3 to 10% of your students at that tier 3 core plus more level. So, so here it looked like the tier 2 band might be a little bit bigger, but more or less those are, your school's not that different from sort of a typical school. The numbers are small here too, so yeah.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the basically what we determined through the mapping and planning process that we went through. So in terms of the capacity of the intervention, basically there would be a classroom, the Student Success Center. That name is yet to be exactly finalized. And it will contain 2 co-located interventions that will support both students at the tier 3 level of highest need and also a number of students at the tier 2 level. So the Bright Tier 3 will cap its active enrollment at 5 students at any given time. And those students are receiving intensive, comprehensive wraparound supports. We'll talk more about those supports. And then the room will also support an additional number of students with Tier 2 needs, so that will be an additional up to 10 students, as that capacity allows in relationship to the existing levels of need in the room. And in terms of staffing, so this will work with the staffing that we have here at EES. So Bright would be staffed by a 1.0 full-time teacher with support from the adjustment counselor and the BCBA. And I know there was a question earlier about the contract manager that's referenced in the MOA, and that would be the principal in conjunction with the superintendent, just as a side note. In terms of the general day-to-day of what this looks like, so in the Bright room or in the Student Success Center, students would be learning regulation strategies that will help support their ability to participate in classes. So Bright staff would be helping students learn how to regulate their emotions and teaching regulation skills. And Bright staff are also working really closely with parents and caregivers to support the family as well. And students would be accessing core instruction in their classrooms for as much time as they're able to engage in productively. So they might spend some time in their core classroom and then also some time in the Student Success Center. And these photos are from Chickering Elementary, where it's designed to really be like a therapeutic milieu. So this was an example where they have their zones of regulation, so students really learn to self-identify what zone they're in terms of their emotions, and then what are some regulation strategies that they could use when they're kind of in that zone to move through those feelings and then to become more ready to learn.
Did you say that the students are accessing the core classroom instruction in this particular pull-out room or in their home classroom?
It would be a combination.
Well, the core instruction will happen in their home classroom.
In the classroom.
And so it's not a separate core instructional space. It's a space where they may get some academic support, as part of their time in that space, but the core instruction is always happening in the classroom. And the goal is always to maximize the students' potential to be successful in that core instruction.
So help me understand, the goal of this, I'm going to call it a pull-out room or separate room, whatever phrase we want to use, just for clarification. They're not getting their core instruction in that room, they're getting something else. Other instruction from their core classes or social and emotional learning, or what is happening? What is the learning that's happening?
Does this mic also pick us up if I'm talking here? Okay. So the other thing to just think about is really it's individualized to the students that we're having in the Bright space. So some students, there may be like reteaching of that core instruction that they might need support, additional support with. Other students, well, probably all the students that are identified for that kind of tier 3 intervention are getting additional social emotional time to support them in what they need for regulation.
So the teacher, the instructor in this classroom, other than the BCBA and adjustment counselor, which are offering support, the teacher in this classroom would then be providing social and emotional support lessons in whatever way that looks, but also some curriculum. Core curriculum, obviously social emotional is curriculum, from pre-K through 6, because there's right? You span the entire school of kids, of which there was about 8 identified as at risk. And so this teacher in this classroom would then have to support the curriculum of pre-K through 6.
I think technically in that way, yes.
They would be collaborating really closely with the other classroom teachers. So that's a really strong collaborative relationship.
I mean, they won't be delivering separate substitute core instruction as if it were a special education room. A child might come with work with which the teacher sends them, and they might help the child to do that work while they're in the room, because they can't be successfully in the room at that time. But it's not that the teacher will be teaching lessons in the core curriculum to substitute or replace for the core classroom instruction. And then I would say, yes, you're right, there's supplemental social-emotional learning happening, I think often with a strong focus on co-regulation and regulation, that then the idea is, as the child learns how to self-regulate in the Center for Student Success, then to collaborate with the teacher to then figure out how can we bring those self-regulation skills back into the classroom. So the goal is always transitional support toward full successful participation in the classroom.
And the idea of that is really to help support the work that their grade level classroom teachers are already doing. I don't think any of them would disagree with me saying that you're meeting the needs of your students' social emotional throughout the whole day. Yeah. So this is a way for us to supplement that and hopefully give a balance to that piece that's happening in the classroom, and give more support to those students.
Great. So in terms of the students that we're talking about for the tier 3, we're talking about students who are highly dysregulated, but with a level of functioning that allows them to be in the school. So their threat of harm to self or others is manageable within the Bright milieu, and they can be regulated with adult support, and students can be either in some classes and contemplating their return to class, as Paul was saying. So the services that students are receiving while they're involved in Bright at Tier 3 would be the care coordination, which we talked a bit about last time. That really is acting as the central hub of communication between any supports within the school and also outside supports and community supports. The teacher collaboration piece in terms of helping the other classroom teachers integrate successful regulation strategies so that that student can be successful in the classroom. Clinical support, which is going to include the individual counseling, teacher consultation, crisis intervention, setting wellness goals, and then family support, so really providing wraparound supports for the family and identifying any additional community supports that they may need.
So we'll show you the budget numbers in a second. So the supports from our team that are listed here will all come as in-kind. So we've been blessed to be receiving now funds from the state to help schools seed fund this work. And so typically in the past, the school has approached us and then we've needed to ask them for some fees for their support. In this case, part of the support package will be providing you all with direct cash assistance to get this program up and running and support the staffing. And then secondly, we'll be providing these supports at no cost. So it's everything from a range of a pretty robust professional development kind of program and network, an online resource toolkit, an online confidential and FERPA and HIPAA compliant database, a listserv where people crowdsource questions and resources and things to our network nationally. Just a whole range of things. We're really trying to think like the folks doing this work are often the only ones in their schools who are doing the work, and so we're trying to think how can we make sure that they're well networked and have support from others. So, yeah. And then just a little bit more. Oh, it didn't go, Lindsay, for some reason. Yeah. So, and then we also have a very, very well-developed family engagement component. So both members of our team will be available to help support the staff of the school in effectively working with parents and caregivers. But then secondly, we have a full range of parent and caregiver educational and peer-to-peer support network that any parent in your school who's interested can be part of. So it could be students who are engaged in the Bright or CSS, but it could be any parent who's interested in participating. And then we're around to, we'll be visiting, we'll be talking with the team here quite regularly, and really trying to think about what are we learning over the course of time and how can we continuously improve. So that's all sort of part of the package, yeah. And then Lindsay, if you want to advance to the budget. So we tried to break this out. So if you look at the top row here, and I think for the school committee members, the version you got earlier today, this is the slide that's a little bit different. So, because we felt, I want to apologize, like I hadn't made sure that we sort of broke out and made clear that top row, the assistance from our team, that won't be a cash transaction. Those are the prices we usually charge Massachusetts schools for these supports, and those will come in kind to your school. So then the actual cash piece will be what you see for each, for this past year, there was $250 in professional development expense. And then if you look, it'll come to about $20,000 between supplemental staffing support, materials and supplies, and professional development. It'll drop to $16,400 in cash plus the in-kind support in that following school year. And then our hope is to work with you so that the school can begin to pick up the cost fully beginning in the school year 26-27.
And I can talk a little bit about that staffing piece, because in the planning section, we didn't identify that we would need any staffing to supplement this program, that we would be able to do it with existing staff. I'm excited that we've hired, or that we're going through the hiring process for the counselor. In looking at the applicants, we were concerned that they may come in at a higher step in that bucket. So we wanted to build this in, and we were talking about how could we make sure that there's money to do that, and this is free money. So we put it in there just in case.
So let me pause right there for a minute. So while that may be true for this particular program, that the staff is an in-house staff, if you take a staff member that's currently in a role, then that leaves a hole in that role.
So I think that after our last meeting, because that was one of the questions, after our last meeting, there was communication that went out that with the multi-age classrooms. So there's going to be 2 sections, please correct me if I'm wrong, 2 sections of 2-3, a mixed grade to really think about our social emotional needs that we have, and then 2 sections of a 4-5. So then that would allow an additional classroom teacher to then be the classroom teacher for this space.
So you're saying there would be only 3 teachers between those 2 classrooms?
No, so right now there's 5 teachers between those grades.
Those 2 classrooms?
There's 5 teachers between 2nd and 5th.
Second,
and so
third,
by
fourth, and
combining,
fifth.
we would make it have 4.
Because there's 2 second grades.
There's what?
There's 2 second grades. So that's 5 teachers now.
Got it.
So you're combining what will now be a 3rd grade, because
No.
they're moving up
No,
a year.
2nd and 3rd will be a mixed grouping. There'll be a class of 2nd and 3rd graders mixed together, and another class of 2nd and 3rd graders mixed together, a class of 4th and 5th graders mixed, and a class of 4th and 5th graders mixed. So that'll bring it to 4 classrooms.
Was that the motivation to combine the classes so that it would produce an extra staff member for this program?
No, the classes started to see how we can meet the social emotional needs. Then we said now we would have an extra teacher so that we could utilize the classroom teacher for this program.
So my concern is when we look at financial year 27, it would be, there would only be $16,000 onto our budget.
Correct.
Or if they decide to do some other configuration with the classrooms, that would be a budget concern.
I think a hope is that this program, I mean, I'm not coming here standing saying that I think this program is not going to be successful. I've seen it be successful and I've seen it work for kids. And I've seen schools where they don't necessarily have the program anymore. We don't know how it's going to work here. We do have that high middle percentage that is higher than what it was 32%. And I think that slide said 15 to 20 in the some risk range. So we do have a high percent of students that have social emotional needs.
I don't think anybody on the board is suggesting that we don't have needs or that we don't want to address those needs, but I just want to be clear that our job is to not just look at this coming year, but to look at future years and to look at the budget. So while this seems great because you're coming and you're providing a bunch of services and it's not going to, in theory, cost us a lot of money, we have to look past this next year, right? And we have to look at for the next year and the next year and the next year, and we also need to be thinking about our staffing and our population. So let's be clear about that. Nobody's saying that we don't have needs and nobody's saying that we don't want to address those needs, but our role up here is to be looking outside of that at our budget, at our staffing, at our student population, and make sure that it is something that if we go forward with is sustainable and has a way to measure whether it is successful or not. Because again, we're not going to put money into something that's not successful. So how are we making sure that it's successful, that it's meeting the needs of our children? A lot of these slides, I think, are geared towards very or much bigger districts. So I am concerned or questioning how this is going to work in a small district like ours. A full-time teacher, educator, and then also support with BCBA and
We got it. We'll get to it.
How are they going to fill their day and how is that going to look in a small district like ours?
Also would look at the up and coming grades. By then, will there be smaller numbers of kids or not? It looks like it will be we'll have a significantly smaller school. I mean, not hugely smaller, but there will be a continued lowering of.
I think when you're looking that far out, it is hard to predict because obviously the cohorts of kids are also going to change through the years. So that also is not something we can predict. But I do think that if you look at the capacity of this program being 5 at tier 3, where that's that kind of in that red zone, and then 10, supporting 10, 15 is really the size of a classroom on average. I think if I were to average them out in the grades, probably it's around 15. So we're then using a classroom teacher to support these students that are flowing in and out of their classrooms to get something in addition that they need.
Yeah, but you're also talking about a swath of pre-K to 6. So to have, when you talk about 5 and 10 kids, they're not all from the same grade, right? They're from different grades at different times, possibly grouping. So I mean, that's,
Well, and I think that's where the classroom teacher comes in and has that orchestrating of what the whole schedule looks like. And then that's why we kind of are planning to use the BCBA a little bit, as well as the adjustment counselor to really support.
I just wanted to add, I think these are really good questions, and I feel like I'm hearing two strains of questions. And one is just like, rightfully so, sort of conceptualizing this notion of like investing in a staff member dedicated to these higher tiers of need, right? That's a new piece, right? And particularly, investing a teaching role to do that. When I hear a lot of schools folks talk and think about this, what they're thinking is, we're working with the students for whom these supports are designed anyway. We're just often doing it in a way that is not as well organized as we would like. And so therefore, I think what happens for a lot of folks is they come into school feeling like, I'm going to do this for all the kids in my class or all the kids in my caseload today, and then sort of end up getting tied up, with one or two students and leaving feeling frustrated because they've both not done the kind of work they would like to do with that small number of students, and also feeling like they've left their they've let their caseload down. So I think about this when I was a principal. I have to be honest and humble. I always think, I would know we were going to have kids with this level of need, and my way of planning for them would be to just hope there wouldn't be very many this year. And that's not, so this idea of saying, let's stipulate we're going to have kids with this level of need, and then let's dedicate resources and do it in a well-organized and structural way. So that's the kind of core thinking, for that's worth, behind our piece. And then I also want to say respectfully, totally get it. You cannot do your fiscal year 27 budget now. Like, there are so many unknowns, and what our hope is that, to your point, with this, assuming that it goes well, then there becomes an appetite to say, this is a really important piece for our kids, and let's find a way. Some schools do find reductions in costs, sometimes with special education associated with Bright, sometimes with kind of home and hospital tutoring, so there are, often ways, but I can't promise to you that, somehow magically $16,200, will appear in your budget by FY27. What I can say is, like, we will do our very best to support you that, for these kids to get really good supports and services, and to partner, and see how that can work. I also hear some schools thinking the state increase now that's coming into place through the Student Opportunities Act is going to begin to catch up, and that may be another, resource. But again, we just don't know. We don't know what your enrollment will be in 2 years. We don't know all of those things. So, but what I will say is, like, we will walk side by side with you in every way we can to help think not just about how to make this good, but to help resource it.
So just a quick question so I understand. With the staffing that you put in this budget, that's an extra, or is that staffing paying for Bright, or is that staff paying for staff that's already at? Because I heard you say we tried not to put money aside for staffing because we already have that built into our budget, but then I'm still trying to understand where that 14.4.
The staffing was there because after we left having the questions, after we did the planning and looking at the pieces, after we did get applicants for the adjustment counselor position, I think that kind of projecting out what the potential hires would be at, I was concerned that we may have a person that may not be at the step we were anticipating.
Okay,
I think
but that's just like additional stepping just in case, but that is not paying for Bright staff. It's not paying for any staff at Erving, essentially.
Not paying for any new staff at Erving.
Okay.
It would possibly be offsetting a person's position that is in the budget already.
Okay, so that's just a prediction of what it might end up costing more to have those support staff.
I think I can use me as an example.
Sure,
right?
go for it.
So as director of curriculum, you had a certain budget when you hired, right? So if I come in at a certain, well, it's tricky because I'm not a teacher, I'm a teacher. Anyway, if I came in having more experience than what was budgeted for in the budgeting process, then I potentially might not take the position. So this was a way for us, in talking about the planning team, this was a way to say, if that happens, we have money in there.
But money from us, like money from the school committee budget. Town budget. I don't.
From the seed
This
funding
money is
for the first 2 years.
Right. I'm talking about the third year.
Third year, yes.
So that money is actually,
that would be,
you're trying to allot it for the Bright program, but out of the town school budget.
So for the third year, so the funding we have, there's just a hard sunset. It's beyond our control on June 30th, 2026. So then the ask is that, again, we know that you cannot make a firm commitment for anything in your 26-27 budget, but that assuming that this work is going well, that it's getting the results, and I'm happy to talk about the results that we think about as well, then that the administration and the school committee commit to doing everything possible to sustain, in
Which
that
would be
26,
keeping our
27.
staff that we already have.
Yeah.
So none of that is like for the Bright program per se, staffing. So if we were to continue this program and use our current staff in the same model that you're presenting, the first year and the second year are covered by a grant. That third year, to still be a Bright room, not our own kind of neat, room without Bright, would cost the first 3 line items, like the 1,000, the 300, and the 500.
No.
Yeah. Yes,
16
because even if let's pretend for a second the data didn't show, but I have high hopes that it's going to show that it's successful. If the data showed that it wasn't, and you decided that we're going to dissolve this program, which I will say there used to be a program and now we're trying to bring it back, that staffing is still existing staffing.
Right, but to be titled as a Bright program, it's gonna cost $1,800.
Correct. There you go. Yes.
Okay, so I guess that's what I'm trying to get down to, that like bottom line.
That would cover the assistance that we're getting from the actual Bright place, the PD for those, which I would say that for the staff, PD is more than likely in their contract anyway, and then materials and supplies, and that's just an estimation.
So regardless of what this new hire comes in at, are we assured $14,400 in FY '25 and '26? Or is that only if it is needed to hire that person?
We're committed to making whole what you need to do this well. So, if it turned out that you only needed $12,400, we could amend the budget, and I'm sure we could find a way to use that $2,000 for another school. But on the other hand, if it came to $12,400 and, it felt like actually we could do some even better professional development with the other $2,000, then we're certainly happy. We're not here to try to like gouge you or get you down to the lowest. We want your school to have what it needs in order to make this work successfully.
Okay, so we can't bank on the fact that you're providing us $14,400 worth of
Sure we can.
staffing
Yeah,
costs.
With a signed MOA and an agreed upon budget for that amount, then that's fine. And then if it turned out some of the expenditures were different and you needed to amend the budget but have it add up to the same amount, that would be totally fine. And we will plan for that. So yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if you came back and you're like, oh, we've got $3,000 that we don't need, then that's another matter. But I bet you could find a way to
Does
use
anybody ever say
$3,000. Very rarely.
Okay.
So then, just going back to like identified students, we've kind of named that there would be 5 from tier 1, possibly 10 from tier 2. Is this room going to be built into the child's day, or is it going to be used as needed? And if there are children that might need it on a one-off, is that an open opportunity for them, or is this only for those children that have been identified and it's somehow a part of them? Like, how does that?
We outlined, I can go to the next one. So we outlined in the process the process for having students come be part of the program and also go out. So that was one of the pieces that we aligned on. So if a student is having difficulty, let's say at breakfast, and they need support regulating and coming to the classroom in a successful way, and that becomes a pattern, then a team may refer them to be part of this. Are we calling it the Student
I think
Success
we are. We have
Center?
to still sort of vote on that,
Okay.
but Student Success Center feels good.
Successful. So they may potentially, the way that student might access it is that once the Bright staff and the administration decide that student, it makes sense for that student, they may go right after breakfast, have some time in the space, and then go to class. But it really is based on what exactly the student needs and a process for that. Okay. I think there are other pieces in place in the building where if a student is having a difficult time and it's kind of a one-off, I think Erving has been doing a great job of having and supporting students when they need help. So that would still be in place. This would be really the plus more for students that we.
Formal process, and
Yes.
the fact that the families would know, they would
Yes.
be part of that
Yep.
conversation. That wouldn't be used for a child more than a one-off without kind of that conversation with the families.
Right. We haven't dove into a lot, but do one of you want to speak about just the family piece of that process?
I mean, I'll just say quick, and I don't know if you want to add anything. Yeah, so this is a totally voluntary, as we call it, intervention that the very first step of the process is to communicate with parent or caregiver and make sure they understand exactly what this is, to have what we call an entry meeting together with the parent, sort of explain to them, talk things through, get their consent and understanding, answer any questions they have. And then we're also like very heavy on proactive family communication, because we know that we just want there to be the greatest alignment and shared understanding between school and home as possible. And so there will be, proactive weekly communication coming from the team here in the school. And then there also will be sort of like, if the parent or caregiver needs the folks in the school to know something as the child comes into the building, sort of like being available to, to check in. So really like that two-way communication piece being really, critical. And then in a case where a parent or caregiver says, I would like some help, then the idea is also having the bandwidth to sort of say, okay, let's see what we can do to connect you and your family with whatever supports or services that we can. And we know having the time and the bandwidth to do that with a small caseload of kids is really nice, right? Because, it's not always easy to find supports and services in the community. So that'll be part of the work of having like a well-developed sort of log of available community resources for referrals.
No, it's okay. I think there's 2 points I just want to ask, and I don't know which way to look, because I want to look at teachers and everybody else. I think we're really focused on the children that be going into the program, but we should also remember the other children in the classroom who might lose out when students are being highly dysregulated. I think it's a huge disruption, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it benefits all students, because now you have a place to safely, with a procedure, to bring them, if they're part of the procedure, and everybody else can go on with their day. So I don't think it just affects a small group. I think it affects the community at its whole. Yeah. And so the question I just want to ask is, to Elizabeth's impassioned speech earlier, do the teachers and the teachers union feel this is the best interest for the entire school, all the children?
100%.
Okay.
This is
Thanks.
free money. This is free mental health support now. There's a mic right here.
This is a huge problem that we've been trying to solve in the school for the last few years. We've been saying, bring back these programs, bring back these programs. It's a zero money at the beginning, minimal to carry forth, but it's a foundation. Even if we don't carry forth with this program, we have a foundation and we have a solution for the next 2 years. So it will help, like Devin said, all students. It'll help all the students still in the classroom. It'll help the students that need some support. Maybe they're just having a rough time and are emotional. They need to get some regulation back in their day. But this is going to help everybody. It's going to help the school. Hopefully it'll help our whole community.
Reiterate, I don't think anybody up here is thinking that we don't have a problem or that we don't need to support the children in the school. We just have to do our due diligence to make sure that we are understanding this process. It's a contract that we're going to be signing. We need to make sure that the money factor is there. So I don't want you to think that we are saying that there isn't an issue and you don't.
It feels that way because we're talking about 5 staff. We're still going to have the same 5 staff. We're going to still support the students, but we're talking about, what was it, $1,800?
Well, and I think that's why I asked that
that's
clarifying
what-
question, because
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what is this actually going to cost, right? So if we're using our staff that are currently there, this is like
Yeah.
a cushion. So
So
I
we
think
should all,
that's,
like,
my
stand
head
up
is
and
just
clap.
looking at that like overall picture.
It just doesn't feel like you're enthusiastic, and we are psyched about this.
And that's great, but our job isn't to be necessarily
Your job is for the
enthusiastic.
students.
Our job is to make sure that this is going to work, and so we're doing our job.
And it will.
So
We're telling
I'm
you
very
it's gonna
happy
work.
That you all are enthusiastic, and
Yeah.
that's great. And if teachers support it, that's wonderful. But you have to understand what our role is, and our role is to go through all of these points, to make sure it is something that if it is successful, that we can maintain going forward. And that
Absolutely.
we have what we need.
Absolutely.
So you're gonna
And
see us
trust-
just doing those things.
And trust that
asking
you
those
have
questions.
staff who know what they're talking about and are here for this a second time to try and sell this to you. And it just feels awful the way you ask these questions. It's uncomfortable.
Well,
Okay, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but
You don't
that's
have to
our
apologize
job.
for my feelings. My feelings are mine. I own them.
Well, honestly, the reality is the administration of the school sets the program. We don't set the program. We manage the budget.
Exactly.
And we do the policies that we did for a half an hour beforehand. The administration of the school divides it up, says this program. All we have authority over is the money.
And
that-
signing the contract. We are
And
the
signing
ones signing the
contracts.
contract.
And that horrible chart that I don't think anybody out there really has a hold of and is going through the numbers of, that's sitting out there. You know, I have to look at each time how much was spent and how much is left over and all of that stuff. That's what we do. We don't do program. We don't tell you how to teach. We don't tell you what to teach. That's the role of the administration of the school. It's very clearly defined. And I'm sorry. I think this program is not that different from many other intercept programs that I have seen in the 50 years that I have been involved in education. And I think I've been in education as long or longer than anybody here. And there have been other models of this that were as well thought out and that worked. And the classroom you had before here, you know, I heard positive things about it. The layout of classes that are talked about for next year, that's not our purvey. And I've heard a lot of positive comments about aspects of that and how it used to work and how it worked in part. But the money, it all comes down to the money for us. I mean, that's really all, you know, and contracts, but that's also money. I mean, I
Multi-million
care an
dollar
awful
budget.
lot
We're
about
talking
kids
1,800.
and school, but it's, you know, getting the thing to work.
I'm not worried about the thing working, because what we have in place to support students is helping. I would say there's definitely more that needs to happen, but I would say we're really hovering. When we did the mapping, we really mapped on this triangle all of the things that we have in place, and we really were hitting that tier 2 piece. And we didn't have the core plus more being hit really well. And so I think all of the processes and procedures that Bright would bring us for free would help us to build that foundation to support this program so that it is a success.
And you had talked about how you were going to show that it was working or not working, the success and
I mean, so you'll have, you know, reports periodically that will show the number of students being served. I think the question of successful time in the classroom over time, because really, like, that's the key goal. Yep. And then attendance, academic outcomes, you know, sort of all of those pieces. And we have a pretty simple and easy to use database that, with the small number of students you have, it will be easy to track and sort of you'll be able to track from the very first student that enters on, you know, what's happening with those kids. So, yeah, so both the school and then, you know, that'll be publicly available data for you all as well.
And what was the other school in the district that you said was also using this program?
Swift River.
Swift River. And why not Leverett or Shutesbury?
So initially, Leverett and Shutesbury, we didn't put forward because they didn't have staffing in place that we felt like would make it sustainable long term. There was possibilities of here and Swift River. Swift River, we did end up adding some things that looked different as well.
What did you add at Swift River?
We added a full-time person potentially. I have to go to their school committee meeting too, but.
So just to talk about the MOU timelines, all that fun stuff, I have the copy here from last time. Has anything changed, or has that stayed the same?
The only
'Cause
thing-
we didn't get a new one, right? I just
No,
want to make sure I'm
the
not missing
only
anything.
thing that on there I have to fix is I think I wrote a May 1st on the date, and it
March 1st.
does it say March 1st?
It does, yeah.
Oh, good. I must have fixed it. then.
Whereas
Step ahead of myself.
startup cost for March 1st, 2024 through
And that's
June
just
30th,
because of-
2026.
And because it's March 1st, it's really just to cover the fact that Elizabeth
The
and I went
PD,
to this.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This year.
So essentially, if we are to sign this, we are just under contract through June 30th of 2026, and then we can kind of we'll reevaluate as things are going and get data and hear all that. But essentially, then we will be in a different place to reevaluate and see what's available. And if we wanted to move forward, likely, if the makeup is still the same, the cost would be about $1,800.
Yep.
Okay, just
Exactly.
planting it all out there.
And if we chose not to continue with Bright, what would we would lose
All those like technical assistance things on those slides.
right, the tracking
PD
system is
and-
what I'm
Yeah.
asking about. Not so much the PD, but the tracking system and that data.
Yep.
And the
I mean, we would
resource
give you
bank
the data up to that point, you know, of course, but.
But we
yeah,
would lose the
yeah.
access to that database, to that
to be able
program.
to track, and the resource bank that comes along with that has tools so that recreation doesn't have to happen.
Right. Are you okay with me just making a motion? Or do you still have more questions?
Devin has another question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Devin.
So the question I had is about money. And I guess there's two questions I have about it. What is the cost to the school when you lose a child or you lose a student to school choice out? Okay. I would imagine this program will keep more students at this school. I would imagine that without this, you'll eventually have loss of children here because the classrooms are disruptive, et cetera. The other point I would make is I feel without this program, some students might become so dysregulated eventually that they would have to go to a different school with different services. And we've known from budgets in the past that can cost over $100,000. So if we're talking about money, I think this is a small investment for a short period of time to see if it's successful to keep our children in school.
I don't think there's any other questions, so.
Okay, perfect.
Only question I have
Yep,
is,
Mark has another
we have a contract, it's a very lengthy contract with lots of pieces to it. Is there any point at which we have to run that past the lawyer to get it signed legally? Or can we just, at this point, we've seen enough of it to sign it legally?
I asked that question, and I don't think we need to.
You asked it of,
I asked our superintendent who was on leave when it was back when we.
It's a good question, Mark. I hear you saying that, Lindsay. But that person isn't here to answer that question again for us. I would say we could make the motion and contingent on any issues, and we can pass it through and just make sure.
okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we accept this contract and this program, and pending, a review by the school committee lawyer to finalize signing of it.
I'll second that.
Okay. I think that's the cleanest way to do it. Any other discussion on this? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Once I get verification from the attorney, do you want me just to email you saying we're set?
Yeah, because we'll have to formally sign it.
I don't know who, I thought it was the superintendent that signs it, but.
It depends on your policies.
Somebody's got to sign off on it.
No,
Typically, it's,
I
in
know.
our experience,
Yeah.
typically it's the superintendent, but it depends on your policies.
Yeah, somebody's got to. So either, so whoever they say. Once we get that email.
Whatever they say, perfect.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you very
answering all
much.
those
Thank you very
questions as
much.
well. Okay. So,
Where are we now?
No principal report, teachers, budget personnel committee. There was no report, correct?
Correct.
Union 28 committee report. We had a meeting, and our next, our next meeting is September. Our meeting was mostly just to appoint Karina as the acting, is that the correct? Interim superintendent. I couldn't remember which way it went. And our next meeting won't be until September. I'm just gonna just under old business, we had the family handbook, but before that we had the 70 van driver. You gave an update in your report. I think that covers that bullet point. So I think we can be done with that bullet point based on the information we got in the superintendent's report. Does anybody have anything else about the 70 driver that we need to talk about? Okay. Family handbook. Family handbook.
I find the handbook is very thorough. There's a lot of different stuff in here. I have yet to find anything that's not consistent with policy, but I do have a question as to how much parent involvement there was. As far as I understand, there's only a couple of parents. I'd like to see it run past a larger part of the community before we signed off on it.
Did the school council have parents involved in this creation? My understanding is it was, were there? Because my understanding was it was just staff members.
They did not write it.
I believe.
Who? What
There are
The school council did not write it as a group.
I know Elizabeth. Oh.
So my name is Karen Laramie, and my daughter
Just come real close.
My name is Karen Laramie. My daughter is Callie Ellis, and my understanding is she joined school council. Unfortunately, she just left. So when this was talked about at the last school committee, I said to her, gosh, you guys got a lot done. And she was like, I just barely joined. I don't feel like I did that work. So if that's who you're speaking to, that's, and you can check back with her, but unfortunately, she did just leave.
Sorry, I was reading the rest of the agenda.
Come on up. Thank you for that.
Jessica Nabala. I did, same with Callie, joined late, joining school council. We were not involved in any of that for that process.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. And I'm sorry, can you just come up for 1 second because I want to ask you a question. Sorry to make you run back. And is that because, just so I'm understanding, is that because you feel like you joined so late in the process this was already done, or you weren't kind of involved in it because it wasn't an option for you?
It wasn't a part
or
of the
you-
discussion.
I wasn't in it either. I'm
Yeah.
on school council, but I was not a part of that either, making the handbook.
Okay.
It was after we all were late.
Okay, so
But this wasn't created until February or March.
We weren't a part of
Okay,
Yeah,
that's,
nope.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify
I would say, I think
timelines.
my first meeting might have been April, I think.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I've only been to 2 meetings out of the 3 that I would have joined.
Okay.
Okay.
And
That's
they-
helpful.
So I am a little concerned about that because the one of the functions of the school council is to make the parent handbook. And so if I'm hearing that parents or other members of the school council were not able to, available, offered the opportunity to create this document, I don't really feel like that it's ready to come to this level yet. I would like to see the rest of the school council have an opportunity to see this draft and make any corrections. And so do either one of you know, is there any other meetings scheduled for the rest of this year?
So there is a tentatively one scheduled for June 5th. As myself being the only parent available to be on that school council, like I guess on the school council at this time, I'm actually leaving to go out of the country that day. So I've already said I wouldn't be available. I will just say as a whole, and I know there are some parents in the audience, school council, I know it's advocated to join it at the beginning of the school year. The way it was written, and I did already state this to David, that I felt like the way it was written was extremely intimidating to parents to feel like they would feel comfortable participating in it, because I was recruited by the other parent that was on school council, and I felt like, while I love to be involved in the school, I felt like I was like, I don't have that knowledge to do it, but actually joining it and being a part of it was actually a really great experience for what little I had, just kind of forming.
She is available. She's going to that.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so I feel like I would encourage anybody else in this room and anybody listening at home to definitely consider for next year, because there is a need for more parents to get involved.
I would also ask if maybe this, I'm sorry, Mark, if this could be sent to you so
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
you can
Yeah,
read
I would-
it
absolutely.
ahead of time and
Yep.
give any notes that you want to
Yep.
give if you're not available to attend that meeting.
Yep.
So, go ahead, Mark.
I would like to see this handbook as it is, sent back to the school administration to collect some signatures of people who have read it and felt it's good. We have an existing parent-student handbook. Prior to this, there was one, and it still is in force. And while this might be an improvement, without the involvement of parents, it doesn't seem to me that it's at all ready to come to us. And whether they meet to discuss it, or whether some individuals take some time to go through it and say, yes, I approve of it, you know, individually, until they have like 3 or 4 people who said yes. So we know who wrote it, and we know who's endorsed it.
every year, just to let you know.
I would like to have this be ready though for September. So I guess Karina and maybe Ben, if he wants to weigh in, is there a way that you/Ben can coordinate having a little bit more parent outreach, whether that's, I don't know, whatever form that takes, whether it's just at a school council but it goes out ahead of time and encourage people to come to that meeting to discuss it, or again, not having the whole school council be a part of this process. I just don't think it's ready for us yet. I hate to keep pushing this off, but I really feel like that's their purview to do first. And I'm hearing that, you know, the wish is to also have more community input. So is there a way that you can, and you don't have to tell me right this second what the way is, but I mean, is that doable, do you think? I know it's a very short timeline we have left.
I think so.
I know I was on student council, but I don't know all the rules or regulations. In order to review that and help with the process, like you said, have more community members or parents involved, do we have to join student council, or could it be put out to certain parent volunteers, or they could email Ben and say, hey, I'm willing to help put some input in? How does that work?
I believe school council is an open meeting, isn't it? Anybody can come, or is it only?
I believe so also. I could be wrong.
I mean, I don't think you have to like.
I think you could attend one and be
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was on it, but then.
Yeah, a teacher say, I was parent, yeah, like you're supposed to have a teacher, one teacher to every parent.
Who sets those guidelines? Is it?
That's a lot.
I think that was put in a policy a long time ago, and I think I saw it as a policy. I can look it up.
Even if that's the case, though, I don't think that precludes you from attending the meetings and having the same information that everybody else has, just like anybody, you know,
Right.
anybody here is attending this meeting and getting the same amount of information. So I think.
I just didn't know if it would help if they don't have to attend a
Figure
meeting.
this out, because there's definitely some confusion about how that
I'm
board
working,
is
sister.
formed or committee is formed.
I can answer that question.
Oh, yeah.
Because in my current role, I'm principal.
Excellent.
So I'm Shannon Cleveland, I'm the incoming super. But right now I'm a principal, so I do school improvement councils. So school councils, there are very strict rules. It's set up, you can look them up on DESE, and it's meant so that the intent is that there's a balance so that decisions aren't being swayed by people who work at the school or by a parent. They're supposed to be at-large community members. And so they form, and they're sort of like the governing group, but people can attend. They just can't be, I don't want to say they can't be part of the discussion, but you have to keep the actual council that's listed on all the paperwork so they can get input, which they should be doing anyway from their constituents. Yes, but, so there are strict guidelines, there's a lot of, it's very spelled out about
Okay.
who can be on it and who can have a vote sort of thing about it. I hope that clears it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
That's not anything that we're involved in, so I don't have a lot of information, so thank you very much for filling in a little bit of those gaps. Either way, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're saying is we want more school council input on the handbook before it comes to us. So it sounds like Karina's on top of that and we'll run with it. Okay. And then we still have a school committee meeting in June, so hopefully if it can happen, I know that's a very short turnaround time, we can do it in June. If not, we can always call a meeting whenever it's appropriate to look at it ourselves, whenever it gets finished.
And I did go like through it word for word and just highlighted some things too. So instead of like doing that, then coming here, and then coming back, I might just connect with you with some things if that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. It's an important document. We want to make sure that it's as good as it can get when it goes out. So I think it's worth the time and effort we put into it. Okay. So we will table that for now. New business, the identification of school choice seats. So I'm hearing, based on conversations with our acting principal and our interim. Thank you. I don't know why I can't get interim and acting straight. That their recommendation is that we do not become a school of choice. So do not open up any seats for this coming school year. So we will need to.
I will make a motion to not become a school of choice.
To vote to not become a school, not be a school of choice?
Yep.
Okay.
I still have a lot of questions about it as to its, the major one is there isn't room in the school at the moment, is what I'm hearing. That's what I got out of that report.
I think it's not that there's not physical room. I think that they're feeling like the needs of the students are
great enough.
Great enough that we've reached capacity.
But at this point, not being a school of choice means we can't take in students, but it does not mean that a parent can't take a student and the $5,000, say-ish,
That's
off
always,
to Northfield, Warwick, or,
Yes.
or wherever.
that doesn't.
We just
have no
cannot
control
accept
over
children that are not residents or their family is not a resident in Erving.
that. Right. We don't have control over people leaving.
Take a choice out.
We only have control over
I just
people
want to
coming.
make that clear.
Yep. Yep.
So is there a second?
You
I'll
guys
second
carry
it.
it. I'm going to abstain because I still have my doubts and questions. But go ahead. It
Well-
doesn't have to be unanimous.
No, but it does have to.
It does have to be the majority.
Majority. Yeah. All right. So I've seconded it. You made the motion. I seconded it. Is there any other discussion? Okay. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm
No.
abstain.
You're abstaining. You're not a no.
Right.
Okay. So no is 0. Abstention is 1. So it's still it passes as we will not be a school of choice next year. All right. I guess I kind of did this a little bit backwards, but we did not identify any seats. Therefore, we voted to not be a school of choice. And so that can be reported to DESE by our June 1st timeline. PI report.
Chris, are you okay with me giving it? Absolutely. Okay. So PI report, the week of May 6th was Staff Appreciation Week at Erving Elementary School. Staff were provided a pizza lunch and salad on Wednesday of that week, and breakfast was provided on Friday of that week. And then throughout the week, school supplies were donated and made available for all staff to take what they needed. So I just want to say a big thank you and appreciation to everyone that brought in items to celebrate all of our wonderful staff at Erving. And in addition, having their children fill out the flowers. So if you didn't notice that in the front area, it's still up. It was just a great opportunity for the students to also recognize all of the wonderful work that the staff do through pictures or just like little messages. So that was great. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
One last lunch to pack.
Yeah.
I'm Heather Peterson. I just want to say thank you for doing that for us. The food in particular was super fun. That was actually a couple of lunches I think a lot of us didn't have to worry about. And yeah, seeing all the wonderful notes that students made. So thank you for that.
Awesome, thank you. And then the only other announcement I have is the Erving apparel store is now open. Link has been shared on Class Dojo. It will get shared, or I think it has been shared in the Erving community group. I'll share it on the Pi Facebook as well. And I think that's open till June 1st? Second. Okay. So even though it's like the same apparel link, but we add new apparel options. So if you haven't looked at it since it was last opened, I would definitely encourage you to just take a look and if there's see if there's any new items that you might want to purchase.
Jamie, you got to come to the microphone just so people can hear.
Asked if it was a good source of revenue. He does take a percentage of it, so the last time we ran it, we only ran it for like 3 days because we dropped the ball. So this time we'll have a good 2 or 3 weeks to run it, and he wasn't happy with me, but we kept our winter apparel in there as well as our spring apparel. So I'm hoping to generate some more revenue, and then next year, I'm sure if we just keep the store as is, hopefully we'll make better revenue.
Children grow, so we need new sizes, right?
Yeah. I know that I think our best revenue was the calendar raffle this year.
Yeah.
That was a big hit. It wasn't a lot of work for anybody really, and we didn't have to solicit businesses or anything, so we'll probably do that again. We're definitely back on our feet and able to do a lot of the things that we were able to do before COVID, so that's kind of made us happy. So next year should be better.
Yeah. And so our next meeting will be June 3rd, which is the first Monday of the month, virtually at 7 p.m. And so the link gets shared in the newsletter and on Class Dojo and on Facebook and all those fun places. So if you, it's always the same. So if you want to come join and hang out with us and find out what's going on currently, but then also we're talking about next year and kind of what certain months might look like, what certain fundraisers we might want to do, planning for community events and stuff like that. So anyone is welcome to join us.
And you don't have to commit to a whole year.
You don't. You can just show up at one meeting. We'd love to see a new face. Yeah, absolutely.
Just because we are always looking for new parent volunteers, you don't have to come to the meetings. You can volunteer, revenue. You can volunteer your time. You can volunteer your artistic abilities. Like the bulletin board, we were here one night just throwing that up for the teachers. So don't feel like you have to be committed to every single meeting. That is daunting. Just your support and your help is great. The people who donated, that was huge.
I was just going to say, yeah.
So we really appreciate all those
lot
kinds
of different
things.
donation
Yes.
people that came through and signed up, and it was certainly appreciated. And we had some parents that came in and helped set up in some of the mornings and when they brought their things in and stuff like that. So it was really great to see that week kind of everyone come together. Okay, that's really all I have.
Excellent. All right, thank you. All right, we have some policies that we are doing first reading on: the school district legal status, AA, school committee legal status, BB, and school committee member authority, BBAA. So this is a first reading on, so this will come back several more times. If anybody wants to speak about them now, otherwise, like I said, they'll come back several more times before we take a vote on them.
Let me go through them and try and come up with a statement of purpose that some of them do not have.
Okay. All right. Next
So
on the.
are we just moving them? So this is first read, they have to go to second read. Are we moving them forward to second read, or we're not doing anything until there's a statement of purpose? I just want to make sure.
Why don't we move them to
We're
second
moving
read?
them forward.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. So
yeah, and
we
he-
don't have to do anything to vote on that.
Nope, nope, we're not doing anything, it's first read.
Okay. Move them to second read.
Yep. Next on the agenda is executive session. We actually do not need this executive session, so I'm just going to strike it from the agenda. And so future business, our next school committee meeting is June 18th at 7 o'clock. And the policy committee meets the half an hour before, so 6:30 on June 18th, both of which will be here. That will be the last regular scheduled school committee meeting for this school year. Although if things come up and we need them, you know, we're able to call other meetings, but that's our last regularly scheduled for this school year. So that's it. So I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:03.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming out. Sounds like the storm may have passed, so it'll be a little drier when you leave.
Are we off?
I just need to check.